Greetings and welcome to the channel. I am ChrisMaster2K and today we're going to be doing Railway Empire 2 Campaign 2 England and Wales. What's going to be a little bit different about this video is that I get a top 1% score on this video, but I'm only going to pause the game once. So once this level is loaded, I'm going to pause it once at the beginning. I'm going to do my initial track and then we're not going to pause it again. I'm going to talk you through things as I'm going through and I'm going to show you how I managed to get a top 1% score using this method.
I had invited the operators of the most important rail networks to this evening to...
What do you think you're doing? Sit up straight. My name is Captain Hewish, and that is how you will address me. In case you haven't been briefed yet, I am the new General Manager of the London and North Western Railway Company, the first of my kind, and your superior. I have the dubious pleasure of organising the merger of 3 independent railway companies. Your task is to be of assistance. I've prepared a list of tasks for you. I am a busy man and will check on you later. Any questions? Good. Then you may sit comfortably.
Okay, so we've gone through the introduction bit. We're going to have a look now at the tasks we need to get done for this section. So phase 1, we need to buy 3 rural businesses. Sorry, don't need to buy them, we need to connect them. And we also need to transport 60 passengers from London to Liverpool. So over the next few minutes, you're going to see I'm going to connect up Birmingham through Oxford to London. I'm going to use a bit of the original alignment here. I'm trying to save myself a few pounds, and hopefully that means that we can put that money to better use in the first few phases of the game. Phase 2 and 3 are worth looking ahead for now. Part of phase 2 is that we need to deliver 80 of any goods to London, and we also need to make sure that 90% of people going to Dover are using the train. Phase 3, we need to get Birmingham to 35,000, Northern to 120,000, and phase 4, we need to get 4 of Veg to York. So that means there's some tasks that we can be sort of planning ahead for, even though our main focus is going to be on connecting those 3 rural businesses. Okay, you might have noticed that I've paused the game. The way I'm going to play this today is that I'm only going to pause the game once. So we're going to pause it at the beginning, get everything set up, and then we're going to unpause it, and we're just going to keep playing and playing and playing. I will occasionally speed up and slow down, but I'm not going to pause this again. Okay, so we need to have an eye on not just completing the phase 1 tasks, but also making Birmingham grow, making York grow, and making the rest of the northern region grow. So, got the track to Birmingham. I'm just going to hook in the cattle or the cows so that we can take them to Birmingham. And then I'm going to extend from Birmingham upwards towards Liverpool, Manchester and York. So here I'm trying to get a bit more of the original alignment, and we're going to take that up just south of where the sugar is, and then I'm going to sort of bring it out as more of a straight line coming out of Liverpool, and we'll take it from platform 2 because platform 1's in use. And once we've built this track, we're going to start trimming track elsewhere. Obviously there's some track at the start of the game. I don't need to connect directly to Manchester at this part of the game, so what we're going to do here is we're just going to take this bit of track away, and we're also going to take away the extra station in Manchester. Okay, so we'll set our directions on our track from Liverpool here, and then we're going to take it from Liverpool over to Manchester. I had a bit of a debate in my head at this point about whether I wanted a bridge in the game. I know that later I'm planning to run some express on a fresh line that's going to pass under this line. This line's going to end up being mostly a freight line. And I thought I'd leave the bridge in. Doesn't work out very well for me later, but we can talk about it then. So we're going to put grid iron in Manchester, and then I'm going to connect Manchester over to York. Now, for this part of the game, we don't have a huge amount of money, so until we get our connection bonuses, we're a little bit short of money. So if we can get the connection bonus to York just with a single track, that's going to be good for us, because we'll be able to use the money to put some trains on and start making money that way. Here you can see that I have a little bit of a play with settings, trying to get a good track alignment there. We're going to put the sugar in. I think first time around with the station I didn't do it well enough, and it gave me quite a steep gradient coming up. The placement of this, I want it on the east side of the line, as you can see, but right here obviously the gradient's too steep. The reason I want it on that side of the line instead of on the other side of the line is that later on I'm going to want to run an express line directly from Birmingham up to Liverpool. So we'll replace the station here, and we're going to have a line coming out of it each end just using a single platform. And then in the early phase of the game we are going to run sugar down to Birmingham to get Birmingham growing, and we are going to run sugar up to York to get York growing as well. And just as I was doing that, I got the bonus, well, I got the task completed for connecting 3 rural businesses to the network. So we're going to send sugar to York and south to Birmingham, and we're going to create a little line here. If you imagine that my main north-south line at the moment is basically London, Oxford, Birmingham, Liverpool, this section I'm going to do here is going to carry all our freight traffic into Manchester. We're going to start with 2 platforms in Manchester, but we're going to expand it as time goes on. Manchester is going to be our big warehouse in the north, and from the south we're going to run wood, because that's the only place you can get wood. We're going to run grain from the Midlands, we're going to run sugar from that station there, and we're going to bring corn and cloth down from Carlisle all to that warehouse as well. Now I'm focusing down south and planning ahead for phase 2 when I need 90% of passengers to take the train to Dover. And for this stretch, I only really need to have 1 platform at Dover. I think the most Dover's going to get during this game is going to be an express train, which we're going to put early on, 1, maybe 2 freight trains later. So until very much later on in the game, it can cope with just the 1 platform. So there's space just next to the Grey station to put in a station so we can get this grain. And we're just going to need a single platform. So I mentioned that we're going to have our main warehouse in the north is going to be Manchester. In the south, our main warehouse for the raw ingredients is going to be London. Later on in the game, we're going to use 1 more warehouse in Birmingham, sort of as the main thing. That's going to be handling things like planks and milk and salt and veg and fruit, but we don't need to do that now. Now I'm connecting the wood here. I'm going to make it 2 platforms, and the reason for that is that very early on in the game I'm going to run quite a lot of trains up to the north just so I can get them growing as soon as possible, and it's just a little bit quicker with 2 platforms instead of 1. So I've got a choice at this point as to what I connect into the network, and I'm going to connect corn into the network because Birmingham is going to need corn in order to grow. So once we get the trains up and running, we're going to get corn to Birmingham as soon as possible. There are sugar and milk, obviously, in the south, which I haven't connected yet. That's going to be part of the next phase. Birmingham will obviously get sugar from slightly further north in the first instance. We'll be able to get Birmingham growing as soon as possible by doing that. So now we need to start connecting up some trains, and I start with the corn here, and I'm going to do this as a manual train because what I want to do is I want to take it up to Birmingham, but I figure actually on the way, why don't I just drop off some stuff in Oxford? So we're going to put 8 corn in to start with, and we're going to drop 4 of them off at Oxford, and then we're going to deliver 4 to Birmingham. And just to try and maximise the use of our train on the train line, we're going to allow it to carry other things as well in both directions, and we're going to bring it back, if you like, as a stopper from Birmingham, Oxford into London, and we'll just carry freight and or passengers and mail between those stations as we're doing that. And when we get to London, we want to make sure it leaves empty because we want to repeat the same thing. Now I start with 1 train on this. I think very shortly after this I end up putting 2 on it as well. So we're not really using London to supply Birmingham and Oxford with corn, not in the first instance anyway. As London grows, it gets a little bit consumptive and it likes to sort of use the corn, and sometimes you can find that Birmingham and Oxford don't have a good enough supply of it. We're going to do something similar with the wood, but except we're going to run just full and just make sure that Oxford comes empty when it goes back to Murphy Station. And then for Birmingham, for our connection bonuses, we're just going to use the 1 train, and that's going to run through Birmingham. So it's going to start off at the grain, go through Birmingham, pick up the cows, and then get my connection bonus that way. And it's just going to oscillate between the 2. So we're going to set up the sugar train now, and that's going to go, we're going to do 1 to York, 1 to Birmingham, or I'm going to just use the 1 train here. And just make sure that it runs empty when it leaves Birmingham and when it leaves York, because otherwise it won't pick up the sugar. And this is the point I remember that I haven't actually bumped up any of these numbers. This is normally the first thing I do, but for some reason when I was doing this recording I went straight for connecting London and Oxford. And now it's time to get some money. So I end up getting the small bond and then the large bond. So now I've got an extra 700k or so to use. And now we're going to have to put some trains on the line. So I do a York to Manchester as an automatic. You might have noticed I was using the Derwent quite a lot for the freight. It's not the quickest train, it's not the most powerful train, but it does mean you can get lots of them down, and most of the freights are doing quite short distances. So now we've got a passenger line which we're setting up between Dover and London. That'll help us achieve one of the targets in phase 2. And it will also bring passengers to London, so we'll fill up the London train to Liverpool a bit quicker. Now I'm going to deliberately put an expensive train on this line, and what we're going to do is we're going to limit it to 3 carriages, make it passenger only, so as soon as it's got the right number of passengers on it, it's going to go. And I'm actually going to park it on platform 3 So I build a special platform just for that express train here, because I don't want any of the through traffic stopping that train from coming into existence, and I also don't want it to slow down any of the freight. Another little quick trick that's useful to know is being able to build bypasses by these cities. So I want my London to Liverpool to go full and I want it to go fast. So if we build a bypass by Oxford, it's not going to get caught up in any stations en route. It does mean later on this little bypass here is going to get used quite a lot for London to Birmingham traffic. That's going to become a main bypass for all the freight later on. And here, having built track 3, I'm now going to tell the train to sit on platform 3 until it leaves. And then we have to build this little section of track here so that the sugar can get into Birmingham. And later on we're going to use this section of track when we're running expresses from Birmingham up to Liverpool and Manchester. And here I've got a bit of money left over, so I thought, I tell you what, well, let's get some expresses on right now. And I don't go straight away for the Iron Duke. You might have noticed I've not put any money so far into maintenance stations or to supply posts. I will be doing that later on. I'm going to be using a little trick. So when some of these trains, which I put down as the Linat, get low on either supplies or low on sort of wear and tear, I'll just be replacing them directly and not necessarily planning to put a maintenance depot down. Maintenance depots do appear, but you can normally get through the first couple of months without needing one, or you can put your money towards something else. So here I'm putting a train from the wood supply all the way up to York. I'm going to bring it back from York to Manchester just to help empty the beer out from York into Manchester, which is going to be the warehouse. Now this is such a long distance, ideally I wouldn't be using Derwents, but at least they're cheap. Okay, so we're all set up, we're out of money. I have a quick look round, make sure everything's good, and then we unpause, and then we don't pause again. So as you can see here, my express train to Liverpool loads up very, very quickly. but there's 2 trains that depart ahead of it, which slow it down ever so slightly. And we just do a check on Birmingham here to make sure that everything's heading into it. So we've got sugar heading that way, we've got grain, we've got corn, we've got wood heading that way. Cloth is not heading in that direction just yet, so we can set up a freight line ready to go for when we get some money and we get a bonus. So one of the first things we're going to do with the extra money is we're going to dual the track from Manchester over to York. We've got a couple of freight trains heading towards York, and the dual track and the gridirons will really help them get there without causing sort of congestion and problems. We've got a bit of extra money, so we put in a post office. And now that my express train has already departed from London to Liverpool, I'm going to reconnect, well, sorry, not reconnect, I'm going to connect further express trains from Birmingham up to Liverpool and Manchester. So now I've got traffic that can get all the way from Dover to Liverpool and Manchester without using that express line. Once the London to Liverpool Express has done its job, we're going to just liquidate it and get rid of it, and we're going to rely on these transport connections to transport passengers north to south and south to north. And now that I've done that, I'm now planning for phase 2, which is going to be get 80 of any goods to London. You might have noticed that I haven't actually put any trains on into London yet. That's because the highest demand for London is going to be of goods it's short of. So if it doesn't have certain goods, we don't want to send them in straight away. We want to give it a little bit of time, get on to phase 2 and then send them in, because then it helps us complete the 80 of any goods to London a little bit quicker. The other thing is, once we've arrived,
to rest on your laurels. You need to consolidate this success. Merging 3 independent rail networks is like bringing a gang of unruly recruits up to scratch. The company is lucky to employ Captain Mark Hewish.
and we've arrived. I just went quiet there so that you could hear the speech. Once we've arrived, we want to get this phase 2 going straight away. So we're going to put grain in there first. London's producing beer, it needs the grain, then we'll get the milk going there as well. And then I'll be able to set up a sugar line to take sugar into there. And for the sugar line, I don't double track it all the way to start with, but I just want to get the sugar trains running. So we'll get our first one running to London Euston. And then we'll put in the warehouse. Now it's interesting which goods we end up buying and which goods we just leave. So I never end up buying the wood or the grain in this because they always seem to produce enough and they grow quite quickly. Sugar and corn are a little bit in between. They do develop, but you need to sort of manage them to make sure that they don't all get chewed up. So whilst I would like to start running freight down to Dover, just because it's extra money, when I start doing that, I limit it to basically items that don't include sugar and corn, because I want those to stay around for my three main cities, which are going to be London, Oxford and Birmingham. There's an optional task right at the end where you need to get London to 120k, and you need to have three cities of 100k. So part of what we're going to be trying to do continuously through this is to make sure that those three cities, Birmingham, Oxford and London, keep growing at a good rate, which means I'm going to be a little bit stingy with growing other cities like Cambridge and Dover and Bristol. And you can see that already we're not even at the end of January and Birmingham's already having 2 arrows up for its growth. And we'll just have a little check and see what's arriving where. Ah yeah, this is where I put the warehouse in Manchester. And again, we're going to put raw things in there. And once our wood trains have arrived at York and Liverpool, then we're just going to funnel all the wood from down south through the Manchester warehouse. So I like to rename my stations with which good they carry. So for the rural stations, I just rename them. It just helps me keep track on what's what. So having got milk and sugar flowing to London, and I'm going to get corn flowing into London. And you can see that York is already starting to grow, which is brilliant. So we get rid of the London to Liverpool line, and then we need to look at extending north all the way up to the Carlisle, because for York and Manchester and the northern region to grow, we're going to need them to have corn and we're going to need them to have cloth, and those are both available in Carlisle or just outside Carlisle. One of the things that one of the more recent updates in the game did is it allowed you to essentially pull goods into the warehouse, even if there wasn't necessarily demand from surrounding cities. So I'm using that on Manchester. Later on in the game, I'm going to use that because we need to get veg to York. So I'm going to bring the veg from the farm and I'm going to bring them up to Manchester early, so that as soon as York gets to the 40,000 number, they're good to go, and it's a very, very short distance to travel. But for now, I'm just trying to pull in wood and grain and all of the others. and we've dual tracked it all the way to Carlisle. The line to Carlisle is a long line, it costs a lot, it doesn't make that much money, not compared to some of the other ones, but we just need it in order to bring the goods down. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring the cloth down, we're going to bring it into York first, and then on its way back it'll pick up goods from the warehouse in Manchester and take them up to Carlisle. And then the next line I'm going to put on is the line bringing the corn, and again we're going to take that to York first, because out of the three cities sort of on the running across the north, Liverpool, Manchester, York, we want York to grow first, because that's the one we need for a future task. So for now we're just going to have a single line which connects the grain to Carlisle, and then we're going to be able to use that line to take the corn, and it takes a little bit of time to get the money at this point. No bonds available just yet. We're going to take that corn to York, back Manchester to Carlisle. Again, run empty at the end. And actually, we'll make this a slightly more powerful and faster engine. So we can see that our first train is now running low on supplies. So I'm going to put a supply tower here, just outside London. And we're going to start running wood directly to London. I could have possibly done that sooner, but we're only 15 goods short, so I don't think I'd have completed the task much sooner than what I actually did. So now I'm going to start rationalising how many trains I've got heading up here. Because the plan is to take all the wood directly up to Manchester, so the lines that go into York I'm going to think about getting rid of soon. So here I just delete the old sugar line that ran between Birmingham and York, and I'm just going to run it to Manchester, going to run it full, and it's all going to get distributed through that warehouse. Birmingham will still be able to get some sugar from London. Later on in the game I'm going to make Birmingham the place where whiskey is made, and we're going to bring more sugar down from Scully's stop down to Birmingham that way, but for now Birmingham's going to get what it needs from the London warehouse. And previously I had automatic lines between Liverpool and Manchester and York, and now I'm just putting an extra freight train on there to take the freight away from the warehouse, which hopefully means there'll be space for more passengers on the automatic lines.
headquarters of our company is located near London Euston. Our reputation requires that we therefore serve the city adequately. Together, we have created a solid foundation, no more and no less. The competition never sleeps. Remember that. I heard that the Great Western Railway is getting ready to move into Birmingham. You must stop that. The rails of the Great Western pose a threat to us. They belong to a major competitor, and they could severely disrupt our expansion.
Okay, so we got phase 2 finished, and then I waited around a bit. You have to wait for him to finish speaking before you can build a restaurant and market hall in Birmingham. I've been caught out before where I've built them too early and it's just got a bit grumpy and not allow me to complete the task. So to complete phase 3 at this point, we need Birmingham to grow to 35,000, Northern to grow to 120,000, and we need 800 passengers and 800 mailbags via Birmingham. Manchester with this setup can get quite congested quite quickly, so here I'm just trying to put in a 4th platform and decongest things. It takes a little bit of time to do this. Ideally I want to start getting some more express trains on, but I really felt the need to decongest Manchester. So we're going to have, this is going to turn into 2 lines, 2 platforms from Carlisle, 2 lines, 2 platforms from Liverpool, and later on we're going to make that into a 6 platform station for all the Manchester deliveries from the south, including Birmingham. As you can see, some of my trains are running low on supplies, and some of them I'm just going to replace straight out with fresh trains, and some of them I'm just going to leave and wait for them to find a supply post. So there I placed Limnat with a Jenny Lind, and that just bypassed having to do anything with maintenance post on it. And having built the market hall and the restaurant at Birmingham, I'm now going to try and get the use out of that by funneling the express traffic from the north through that station. And now we're going to expand out towards Bristol. One of the reasons we're doing this is it will encourage more traffic through Birmingham, because everything from the north and the south are funneling through that one point. The other reason is that we'll be able to start sending express trains from London to Bristol, which will capture some of the Dover traffic, and we'll also be able to start sending freight trains and start to grow Bristol ever so slightly. We don't want to be sending things like corn and sugar over there at the moment. We could send wood, which we've got plenty of. We've also got plenty of cloth and beer as well. So it'll generate a bit of money for us. And the Cambridge station, we're going to connect that to Birmingham, and we're going to connect that down to London. For now, it's to try and encourage more things to pass through Birmingham, because obviously we'll have traffic from the northern cities that wants to get to Cambridge.
But I have to say, during my time with the East India Company, we shipped at least 5 times as much every day. Birmingham is the gateway for the Great Western to occupy the rest of Britain. That's why we must banish them to the southwest, like a genie to its bottle.
Spoke too soon. It looks like I finished one of the Birmingham tasks already. The other thing we're going to want that Cambridge to Birmingham line to do at some point in the future is it's going to be carrying the veggies. And we're going to need to carry the veggies through Cambridge or around Cambridge. We're going to need to get some veggies up to York, and we're also going to need them to go into Birmingham, Oxford and London to grow those. So we're going to build a line now coming down from Cambridge down to London, and we're going to put an express on that. I think we're going to do this as autos. Or did I do these as expresses? I can't remember. And finally we get a maintenance depot in London, and we're now in May, so we've managed to go 4 months without needing a maintenance depot. I don't put it up to 100% just yet, because I don't want all the trains to get stuck there waiting. Got to go up to 100%, we can push them up to 80%, and then we'll sort of nudge them a little bit higher later on. And now I'm going to build a line which is going to take wool, which is a raw material that Oxford wants, and it's just going to take it straight into Oxford. Might as well get a little bit of money for doing that. And instead of our corn train going straight into York and then back to Manchester, we're just going to do another one which goes directly into Manchester, which is the warehouses, and we're going to run it full. Now also, one of our tasks for phase 4 is to have an express running for Carlisle, Liverpool, and we're only on phase 3 at the moment, so we're going to run that now. Just small detail where I run these tracks in, it's after the junction for all the southern traffic, so that's just to allow it to get it into Liverpool quicker and not have to fight with it. tracks which are coming from Manchester. Well, sorry, coming from Birmingham up to Manchester. So have a look at York and what York's got running into it. And York's actually doing pretty well. It's doing pretty well, York. We've got double arrow growth. And here we start running trains between London and Cambridge. So we're going to run an express, and then we've got our freight train which we put in before. And we're going to make sure that... Oh, hang on, sorry, we're running it at freight now. We're going to make sure it doesn't take certain things out of London. Of course, having set up the Birmingham station for express trains, I then forget to put express trains in until much later on. So the rural businesses we're going to end up buying at this level, we're going to buy the veggies, we're going to buy the apples, and we're eventually going to buy the milk. But we're going to buy the veggies and the apples before we actually start taking anything away from them. And here I just put a minimum of 4 wood on the train to London, just so it's not running empty. Because that wood is having to supply the whole map, it can run quite low until it moves up to level 2. So what we're planning to do here is to take a load of vegetables into London to help London grow, because we want London to get to 120. We're just going to send one in, and we're going to send it back via Cambridge. Eventually. And we're also going to get some vegetables in the north of England. So we're going to send one up to Manchester so that it can be ready with 4 vegetables to supply York for when York hits 40,000. Of course, I've forgotten to set the Manchester warehouse to take a maximum of 4. So when I try and put this train, it says I can't, and then I work out what I've done wrong. And just to help keep York growing, I'm going to send up a delivery of milk. Yep, and I finally noticed that Manchester is set to the wrong number. So here I decide to run a train of wood all the way up to York, just to make sure we keep that well supplied. And here I'm contemplating about putting in a dedicated train for passengers and mail in Oxford, and running the Birmingham and London traffic through that. So to start with, I hook onto tracks I already have and platforms I have in London, but you can see this evolve over the next sort of phase or two in the game. Eventually London Euston is going to become an 8-track station, with tracks 7 and 8 as dedicated express up to Oxford Express. And I'm going to connect the north side of this into Birmingham. And since Birmingham and Manchester already have repairs, I'm going to put a post office and a restaurant in Oxford just to generate me some more revenue.
dispatch. The mood in Birmingham seems to be tipping in our favour.
So I'm getting close with Birmingham. Now, once Birmingham's done, we're on to phase 4. So we need to have enough money to buy the private route from Birmingham to Oxford. That's 400,000. We need our veg to be on the way to York. We need our Carlisle to Liverpool Express. And once York gets to 40,000, then it'll be able to accept the veg, which should already be in Manchester. So here I'm trying to work out whether I want to build my express station in Manchester. So I put it south of where the freight station with the warehouse is. You can actually put it quite a long way away, but you can connect into it directly Birmingham, York and Liverpool. And here I'm just building out from the London freight terminus. And we're going to have it so that platform 5 and 6 are now dedicated express platforms. So now corn is up to level 2, we can run more corn trains into London. So we're on phase 3, but when that's done, we could end up completing phase 4 quite quickly. And our task for phase 5 are to have 4 private routes, so we'll need lots of money for that, and to deliver 4 liquor to London, and to have 90% of passengers going from Carlisle to Plymouth by train. So at some point we're going to expand down to Plymouth for that.
Now, don't let it go to your head. You fulfilled a goal, not saved the Empire. So far, so good. You've buttered up the Birmingham people enough, and the Great Western didn't get the concession for this region. That's a victory for us. Our competitors are currently laying low, but the peace cannot be trusted. Attack is the best defense. It's time to start spreading out. Do you see the private route between Oxford and Birmingham? That's small fry, operating independently so far. I've spoken to our allies in Parliament. We're now allowed to buy up small routes like that. Don't wait. Destroy the competition. If you're wondering why we're so successful, it's because of my military background. For 10 years, I was a soldier in the 67th Regiment of the Bengal Native Infantry, and I picked up a few things. Step by step, the chaos left by the railway mania is being cleaned up.
So we've finished phase 3 and we've done the purchasing the private route from Birmingham to Oxford, and now we're getting our line from Bristol down to Plymouth. And because of the way we're set up, I don't want him sort of building out around the north from Bristol, so we're just going to put a little loop of track there, mainly to slow down the computer, and then we're going to build our line down to Plymouth. Now it's a little bit hilly round here, but you can get all the way down there with minimal or no bridges at all or tunnels, and we'll come in here and then we need to plant our station. And it can be a little bit picky about where you actually put the station. And for now we're just going to single track it. Later on we'll upgrade this to double track, but I just want to get the trains up and running. Obviously now we've got a train running from Bristol down to Plymouth. That's going to pull through a lot of traffic on the other lines and generate us more revenue. Now we're just going to run some additional track coming out of Manchester, and that's all the freight from the south or any of the expresses can go in on dedicated platforms 5 and 6. Slightly takes the pressure off platforms 3 and 4, which are obviously handling Liverpool and York traffic. And here I'm moving the bypass over by a couple of tracks just to try and make it a little bit easier in London. And I finally remembered to put the Cambridge bit on the vegetables line, so it's going to bring back freight from London for us. So there's another one bought. Remember, for the next task I need to have 4 private routes purchased. but it also clears a path for me to do something with these apples, because we're going to need to bring these down to the London, Birmingham, Oxford cluster. But actually we really want to get these into Birmingham, because very soon we're going to build our factory to start manufacturing whiskey. I need to get milk through to Birmingham and Oxford, and it's not going through London the most efficiently at the moment. So we're going to do something about that. So we're going to set up a line which delivers to all cities.
Another step in the right direction, but don't let it go to your head. You there! Stop slouching! No discipline. It's a miracle you've completed your tasks.
Hello, I'm here on behalf of the company board. I just wanted to take a moment to express our collective thanks for your work. So far, we are very impressed with your achievements, but we still expect even greater things from you.
You! How dare you? Have you heard of the Great Northern Railway? A dangerous enemy that could leave us in the dust if you don't do something about it. So, what are you waiting for? Ha! My rival on the company board thinks I'm arrogant. Can you believe that? I am the most modest man in the whole empire. That's common knowledge.
So we completed the fourth phase okay, and here I couldn't quite work out why not as many passengers were going to Plymouth via rail as I thought, so I tried to bump up the trains on the other lines, and once that train's arrived there I'm going to dual track this and put another train on the Bristol to Plymouth line.
Apparently there have been complaints about my tyrannical behavior. Weaklings! A lot of them! I will take care that they are dismissed without severance pay.
So we've completed the Carlisle to Plymouth challenge. Now it's about getting that liquor delivered to London. And here I made the decision to bump up the production power of the factory so we can get it done slightly sooner. That does mean I have less cash to do other things with in other areas. To get up to 100,000, we're going to need the factory on at least a level 2 to generate the right amount in Birmingham. So it's something I'm going to have to do anyway, but here I decided I was going to do it now. I'm going to spend a little bit of time remodelling the track around Birmingham. We're going to take a freight line out actually on the west side of that Birmingham freight terminal down to Oxford/London. So here I tried to build another station in Birmingham, but you can only have 3 stations in any city, and obviously because I bought a line out, there's already a station there. It took me a bit of time to work that out. And what I'm going to do with the southern station is going to make that into an express station as well. That's mainly to take a little bit of pressure off the freight station, and obviously this will generate maybe a bit more revenue once it's up and running. Always helps if you put directions on your tracks. And here, having taken the post office away, because we've taken away the express trains from that central station in Birmingham, I'm putting in a warehouse, and that's just going to, the purpose of this warehouse is to help the transit between other goods between the north and the south. So what that's left for us to do in this phase of the game is to deliver those 4 liquor from Birmingham down to London. So we bring it down here, just out the back of Birmingham, and sort of plug it into the north end of the bypass around Oxford. And actually I end up setting up a dedicated rail line. To carry the liquor or the liqueur all the way down. Is it liquor or liqueur? I remember this bit feeling very, very slow until we got the fourth and final one loaded on to go to London. So now we've got two vegetable lines, one that supplies London directly and one that supplies Birmingham directly, and we're relying on the warehouse in Birmingham so that Oxford gets its supply. At the moment I don't have any freight lines going from Birmingham to the north of England, so the veggies is sort of contained within those three major cities, the ones we're trying to grow.
A wise man, you know who, once said it's better to surround yourself with reliable enemies than with unreliable friends. Targeted and destroyed. Ha! My opponents will think twice about messing with me. Oh, and you've also achieved your goals. In the north of Wales, there's a private line to Holyhead that will take me a big step forward. If we succeeded in buying it, we would control the main transport route to Ireland. Fortunately, I've been able to convince Parliament, which allows us to purchase access rights to Wales. Wales may be sparsely populated, but it lies between England and Ireland. That's why routes in this region can be very valuable. As in the eternal conflict of nations, the weak are consumed by the strong, and thus become part of something better.
So basically, once we connect this up to Swansea, that's it, apart from the optional tasks. Here we go.
The success of the London and North Western Railway had permanently changed the face of British railroads. The patchwork of the rail network had been cleaned up, and passengers could now travel from London to Wales and then Scotland on a single ticket. The company had achieved its goal, and had become the largest public company in the United Kingdom. But new opponents had also risen from the masses. These competitors were so big that they could not simply be bought up.
Success! Our network extends to the Welsh coast. Those who want to travel to Ireland must now use the London and North Western connection. I must congratulate you. You've accomplished everything I've asked for. And even more, you've outlived me in this enterprise. Supposedly my personality is no longer in line with our company values. Ha! I will simply move on to bigger and better things.
So, we've completed all the mandatory tasks. We've still got the 3 optional ones to do, and we've got a score of 714308, which is pretty good for that phase of things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break the video here, we'll bring it to an end, and we'll pick up where we leave off in the next video. Hope you enjoyed the video today. Remember to comment, like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.